Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I want to say thank you to all of the people that are watching the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. I also want to send out a special thank you to John Petrolino from Decoding Firearms. He's also the Pen Patriot, and he's a contributor at Bearing Arms and at JM4 Tactical and at AmmoLand and on the Armed Lifestyle magazine as well. Special thanks to John, because John is letting us use his stagecoach while we're on a trip here in California. So thank you guys very much for watching, and we appreciate you guys being here. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today, I am in Lakeside, California. This is my first time to California, and I have with me instructor extraordinaire, writer, and radio personality, Joe Drammissi. Joe, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Charlie. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
I am honored to have cool people in the car, and I love my gig. One of the things I talk with Amanda Suffolcool about is we talk about how in the gun community we call it the Olympic rings, and this Olympic ring doesn't touch this Olympic ring, but there are people that know each other in all the different rings, but we don't know all the people in the other rings. So one of the things that one of the objectives I have for my show is to make more friends, to make my ring, my circle of friends, bigger. And I was talking with John Petrolino, and he's like, "So when did you start listening to Gun Owners Radio? How did you learn about Michael Schwartz and Joe Drammissi and Dave Stahl?" I'm like, "I don't know. I think you turned me on to them." He's like, "No, you turned them on to me." And I'm like, I don't know. So I think this is great to expand my circle of friends and have more people that, I hate saying it's like high school and then we have little cliques, but we kind of have little cliques. And I just want to bring all the cliques together.
No, and that's a great thing too, because one of the things I teach a whole bunch of different things, but one of the things I teach is project management, back from the other life. But
from the previous life.
Yeah, and it's still hanging on there a little bit. But I tell my students that we talk about the importance of building networks and things, and the importance of diversifying your network, having people from different areas. Like in my background, I did a whole bunch of things. I've kind of got an interesting bunch of things that I do. But I did search and rescue out here for a dozen years with San Diego Mountain Rescue. Then I switched over. I became a ski patroller up at Bear for another dozen years.
Snow ski?
So I did that. I grew up in New Jersey, and being out here since '79, a bunch of us went in the Navy. We're going to go straight and make a left at the next light. Right. So a bunch of us went in the Navy. I ended up on a submarine out here. That's how I got to San Diego. But one of the things I miss is thunderstorms, because we don't really get them out here. So, I went storm chasing for a couple of seasons out in Texas.
That's cool.
I know a bunch of people from all these different areas. And, I tell students it's important to have a diverse network like that. If I connect somebody from my ski patrol network with somebody from my say search and rescue network, because I know they have a common interest and they do something together, then they both benefit. So we're going to go left. Yeah. They both benefit, and I benefit as well, because they both remember I connected them. So in your case, I'd never heard of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, and I was looking on my on my Substack column where I write, and I saw somebody subscribed, and it said Riding Shotgun with Charlie. What is that? And I checked it out, and that's how I found you. And then I linked you with John Petrolino. So it's interesting. We talked to Beth Alcazar on the radio a couple of weeks ago, because I was watching a Riding Shotgun episode there, and I saw Beth Alcazar, and it was like, wow, my hero. Because Beth was one of the first gun writers that I read when I first got back into this. She was one of the first blogs I found, and I really liked the way she wrote, and I used to read her. She used to do a couple of articles a week, and so when I got around to creating our blog page for the San Diego County gun owners, the way I write and the way I had them do the page is very, very influenced by what Beth did. So through your page, I got, we talked to you, you connected me with Beth, we got Beth on the radio. So it was cool. I was telling her, it was like interviewing Mick Jagger. I was like, oh, you want to take a left here? All right. Just like, wow, one of my heroes.
That is too cool. I mean, I absolutely love that. I got the email from you. What did you asked about having Beth on the show or something. Somehow you brought up Beth, and I'm like, oh, she hasn't been on the show? Because I assume that everybody I know knows everyone that I know. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So when you sit here, again, going back to the circles, when I say, hey, listen, you should, we should have so-and-so on the Daily Bullet with Paul Lathrop, which is part of the Second Amendment Foundation. He's like, yeah, I don't know who that guy is. I'm like, how do you not know this guy? But it's not in his ring. So,
well, Sam, that was another thing too. With speaking of the Second Amendment Foundation, somebody else I discovered or ran into was Lee Williams, and I like the way he writes. Very similar to the way or at least his thinking is very similar to my thinking. Yeah. And I thought, wow, he would be good. And I asked John. I said, hey, do you know Lee Williams? Because I know they both write for Ammo Land. They both do things like that. Yeah. And he gave me Lee's contact information. I talked to Lee the other day, and so we're going to have him on the radio show. That's too. Awesome. So I'll interview him in July.
That is awesome. I love it. I love it when all that kind of comes together. That's good stuff.
Yeah, so it's great to do that. So to connect people like that.
It is. All right, so you had a life that wasn't gun stuff.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick history. So, coming out of high school, a bunch of us went in the Navy right out of high school. And, it's funny, I don't know if you do these really well thought out decisions when you decide to do things in your life. Because a bunch of my friends signed up like in January of our senior year. Yeah. And, I was telling them, you guys are crazy. Would you out of your mind joining the Navy? And then I was sitting home one Sunday afternoon, I was watching TV, and The Enemy Below came on with Robert Mitchum and Kurt Jurgens, a destroyer submarine movie. I said, that's it, I'm going. Oh my God. So that's how I ended up in the Navy. And then the other really well thought out decision was I was in Great Lakes in electronics school after boot camp, and it was terrible. I don't know if you've been up in Great Lakes. It was a really bad winter. It was like 60 below for months up there. With the chill factor.
Are you in Wisconsin or Minnesota?
Right on the lake. So Great Lakes is in Illinois. So the Navy base is right there on the lake. Okay. Just howling wind. And I found out that if I volunteer for submarines, I can get out of Great Lakes about 6 months sooner. So that's what I did. That's how I ended up on submarines, because I had to volunteer for Vietnam to get out of Great Lakes. It was going on. So ended up out here in San Diego. Had no reason to leave. So went to San Diego State, got a mechanical engineering degree, worked as a mechanical engineer for 6 or 7 years, then a project manager, then a program manager. So I did all that for like about 23 years altogether. And decided I wanted to try something else after that. So when I quit my last job, the plan was to do to make a living through a combination of consulting, teaching, writing, and speaking. So that was my plan. I've been able to do all of that. That was about 12 years ago. So I've been able to do all that. I teach project management. I was telling you, I teach at UCSD out here. I teach as a contractor for another company doing project management stuff. So I do a bunch of that kind of stuff, and I got involved with firearms. I'm relatively new to it compared to everybody else, I guess, that does this. I hunted growing up as a kid, mostly because I wanted to hunt, with my friends and my cousins and stuff. Sure. So my parents got me a shotgun. We hunted rabbits and, some birds and things like that. And then when I went in the Navy, I kind of put the gun away and really never did anything with it until probably 7 or 8 years ago. I was inspired by President Obama. I was looking at what was going on in the country, and I thought, okay, I kind of wanted to learn, how to shoot and how to use handguns and stuff anyway. So I thought, okay, this is probably time to do it. So that's what got me involved.
President Obama. Jeez.
Yeah, and then you know, it's funny because we do a lot. You know, I was telling you about all the other stuff. I like the ski patrol and search and rescue. That's all volunteer stuff. I did all that on top of the engineering.
Oh, wow.
Because I realized a couple of years into engineering, I realized that there's things that might be more fun than engineering. But I didn't want to quit and go back and start over again.
Sure.
And then I discovered volunteering, and you can pretty much find anything you want to do as a volunteer, really. You know, so I got involved in that kind of stuff. I got my EMT certification as part of search and rescue.
Oh, wow.
And I was an EMT. I had that for like 25 years. I used to do little side things with that. So, you know, you can do a bunch of stuff volunteering, and you're giving back to the community too. So, you know, I always like that. So what was happening was we do a lot in our community out here because we've been here for, I think, 31 years. We've been in that house. And they have a annual parade at Lakeside. And Lakeside's a lot like Mayberry, actually. That's why I like living out here. It's a tiny little town. But they have a parade every year, a Western Days parade. And they have, you know, a lot of the local businesses, you know, they drive around with their trucks, and you'll see all sorts of stuff. It's like being, well, it is a small town. So I was working the parade one Saturday morning, and I ran into a friend from the parade. I happened to ask him what they were doing that night or something. Oh, we're going to this gun dinner. And I said, oh, wow, that sounds cool. And then, like a half an hour later, I ran into another person. Hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, yeah, we're going to the gun dinner. I thought, whoa, what is that? Because I just bought my first handgun, so I was just starting to get into it. And what it was the San Diego County Gun Owners. It was the first annual dinner, like we're going to tonight.
Right.
It was the very first one. They did it on the Midway aircraft carrier down in the harbor.
That's cool.
And so I talked to my friend who told me about it, and I said, hey, I'd like to find out about this organization you were talking about. So he gave me Michael Schwartz's number, and I gave Michael a call, and you know, said, hey, I want to find out about this. So Michael told me all about it, kind of recruited me, and then I got a bad habit, I guess, with I get way into things when I get into them.
Yeah.
So I was in the course of talking to Michael. I don't know if it was that day. It might have been a week later or so, but I remember talking to Michael, saying, hey, you know, I want to get a little more involved in the group. Is there something else I can do? Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah. So I became a board member. And then, you know, after being a board member for a while, I suggested the blog site. So now I write all the blog articles. You know, I'm a board member on there. And then eventually I got sucked into the radio show.
He's like,
so
hey, you get
now
this
I do all this stuff.
You get this awesome booming voice.
So yeah, so there's plenty of stuff to do now. So that's how all that evolved.
That's very cool. Now you're an instructor as well.
I am. Yeah, I teach. Well, because I like teaching anyway. I was telling you, I teach project management, so I've been teaching adults for like probably 15 years or so. Yeah. And when I get into I'm real big on training and learning and education and that kind of stuff. So when I got involved with the firearms, the natural thing for me to do is take classes. Like when I decided I wanted to learn how to use a handgun, the first thing I did was, all right, I'll take a class. So I went to one of the ranges up here and I took a class. And even here's another well thought through decision too, all right? So I take my first intro to handgun classes, and you know, we're all renting handguns there. And I'm thinking about, okay, what handgun do I buy? So everybody there, and you know how this is at different places, everybody there has a GLOCK. It's like GLOCK, 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 GLOCK. So I thought, okay, well, I'll buy a GLOCK. And I had no idea what I was doing. So, okay, GLOCK 17, that's what everybody has.
That's what everyone's got, sure.
So I went to buy the GLOCK 17, and they didn't have one when I wanted it, but the guy at the counter said, well, why don't you get a GLOCK 34? It's almost the same thing as a GLOCK 17. You know, the lower part's the same. The slide assembly's a little bit longer. So, okay, because I didn't know. All right, I'll get a GLOCK 34.
Sure, they've got one in stock. How convenient.
Yeah, which actually worked out because I eventually got into competitive shooting. So I shoot USPSA matches most weekends. And it turns out the GLOCK 34 is actually better for that than the 17 would have been. But it also turns out that the GLOCK just fits my hand really well. Yeah. So, you know, the 34 was the first one I got. Then I got involved with the concealed carry. So, you know how it is with concealed carry. Well, you may not. Oh, yeah, you would know. I was thinking of John, if you're in New Jersey. Yeah,
right,
you may not know.
Can't carry.
But So what I got, when you first start with concealed carry, you're worried about your printing, so everybody's going to see this, they're going to see that, so you get a tiny little gun. So I got a GLOCK 26 to start with.
Right.
Carried that for a while and then realized, I think it was mostly psychological, because I mean I could shoot the 26 just fine, but I thought, I need something a little bit bigger. So I got a GLOCK 19, because so I've got the 3 Glocks now. And the GLOCK 19 is fine. It conceals well. I can shoot it really well. Mm-hmm. And what's nice about the Glocks is they always work.
Right.
So, but I mean, that was not a well thought through thing. I just happened to take the class there. And I've taken my first class at Gun Sight, where I try to go every year.
Carrying a 1911.
Yes. So everybody there's a 1911 guy. That's what I would have ended up with, which I do have, and I do have it on my carry license. I just because out here in California, you've got to list each gun you're going to carry on your license.
That's ridiculous.
It is. Hopefully we'll change that at some point.
Man.
But I have the 1911 on there mostly so that when, like I work at the range at our club, I try to do an RSO shift there every week. Mm-hmm. So if I want to bring that gun, it's nice to be able to just put it on and carry it. So that was mainly why I threw that on there. But yeah, you asked me about teaching. So anyway, I got into all that stuff. So in the course of learning stuff, the first place I went was, I was taking classes, and then I saw the NRA instructor certification thing. So, okay, I'll do that. And that's a reasonably easy thing to get. So I went through and got that certification. Then from there, the USCCA certification. So I got that. I got the 2 handgun certifications. I got the NRA shotgun certification, the RSO thing. Mm-hmm. This is Iron Mountain up here, by the way. If you can see.
This is
back over there. It's a nice trail. I used to hike this. I used to try to hike this every month or so. It's been probably 5 or 6 months, but it's a nice 3 mile in all the way up to the top of that, and then 3 mile back down. But really popular place. When I used to do search and rescue, we used to do things back here from time to time. We had a plane crash up there one year that we responded to, and it was interesting because we had a lost hiker out here at a place called Warner Springs, which is up this way another probably 15 miles or so. But we were out all night with this hiker, and I don't know, you can't really see it over there. That's Iron Mountain way in the back there, and you can see the rock face there. Mm-hmm. This guy in an airplane, and it was interesting. He was a local pilot. He was a very experienced pilot. He was familiar with the area. And it was a foggy morning. A lot of times out here we'll have low fog in the morning or low clouds, and the top of that will be covered. And he just plowed right into it full speed. Oh man! And we were on our way home because we'd been up all night looking for this hiker, and he came walking into our base camp in the morning. He just got all turned around out there, so he holed up for the night, and then he came in the morning. So we're driving back here. We were probably driving past here right around when the crash happened, because I got home, I got changed, I just climbed into bed, and the pager was back when we had pagers. So the pager went off, so I'm back again, get all dressed up, gather everything, and come back up here and go up there and try to sort that out. But Iron Mountain's a cool hike, though, when there's not crashed planes and stuff on it. So
you have to look for people.
So yeah, so that's pretty nice. So this area's a little bit different, California-wise. I mean, you'll get to see all the beaches and stuff cruising around with everybody else. You probably saw a little bit of that yesterday.
Yeah, the place that we're staying is right on the San Diego Bay, and I'm not a beach guy.
I think where you were staying, I think that might be where we honeymooned. That was another real well thought out thing. 41 years ago, I think. We both, my wife and I, we got married on a Thursday. Which is kind of odd since
was it at the JP?
We well, we wanted to get married in the park at Balboa, or not Balboa Park. The heck's the name of that park above Old Town? I can't remember. Hope you shouldn't see this. But the park above Old Town, and on Saturdays, the park, everybody's out there partying, throwing frisbees around and stuff.
Right,
so we thought, let's do it on a Thursday. The park will be open. Presidio Park, that's what it is. So we got married on a Thursday. We were both starting school. We were in college, so we were both starting class on Monday. So we honeymooned for the weekend down where you're at.
Down in Mission Hill?
Yeah, on that camp. You were right on the bay, right? In the little camp, little cottages and things that are out there. Mm. So that's where we did that.
Wild.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine from the Navy, because I just gotten out. I think I gotten out of the Navy. I think I got out in 81. We got married in 82, a year later. And a friend of mine from the Navy had come down from LA for the wedding. And I don't know if they were camping somewhere, but he brought his ski boat. So he's coming down there. Those cottages are all right on the beach. And he didn't know which one we were in. So they're cruising in the boat, yelling for us, going by up and down past the cottages.
Oh my God, that's a riot.
But yeah, that's a nice area. This out here is a little bit different. This is East County, San Diego. And San Diego County is huge. I think it's bigger than some states. I know it's bigger than Rhode Island. It's probably bigger than a couple of other states. There's like 3.4 million people out here. That's wild. It goes all the way out through the desert. Like what you're seeing here, the East County part is kind of a little bit, I guess this is almost getting into the desert. You see kind of the foothills here, and you can see the mountain ranges in the back, where, I don't know if we'll get that far here today, but like, if we do get that far, Julian's got excellent apple pies right at the end of this road. But Julian's up in the mountains. Our local mountains are about 6,000 feet. So we've got mountains, we get snow and storms and all that stuff in the mountains, at different times during the year. And then just beyond the mountains, they've got like Sunrise Highway follows the top ridge of the mountains. You can see out into the desert. A whole big chunk of San Diego County is desert. So, I mean, we've got mountains, we've got desert, we've got ocean.
Not at all. I gotta tell you, I've been blown away by the weather. Mm-hmm. And when I got here, it was, I don't know, low 70s, nice little breeze. Like the breeze was cool enough that if you were in the shade, you were chilly, but when you got in the sun, you weren't. And I'm a complete buffoon. For all of the years that I've been alive, I will get sunburned every single summer, every single time I go out in the sun. And I'm like, you know what, it's not that hot out, I don't have to worry about it. And I get back to the hotel, I'm like, holy crap, look at my arms, look at my nose.
Yeah, so it's really pretty nice out here. We do get weather. I mean, I've always been critical of the weather out here because it's like retirement village weather. I mean, it really doesn't do too much, which is actually good, I guess. I mean, we don't get hurricanes, we don't get tornadoes, we do get earthquakes and fires. But, if you stay, especially along the coast, it stays pretty nice. I mean, it really doesn't get real hot. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's unusual for it to get, past the 80s out there on the coast because you're right on the ocean. Here, where I live, we'll regularly get over 100 during the summer. Sometimes a little bit more than that, maybe as much as 110 on some days. It's usually not humid, though. We'll get a little bit of humidity in July and August, but for the most part, it's pretty nice out here. But like I was saying, in the mountains, I mean, we used to go up there, full blizzards and things when I was doing search and rescue, to go up there and do stuff like that. So you get quite a variety out here.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So the teaching thing, you were asking about the firearms teaching.
Yes.
I assume you wanted to know that.
I do. So let's talk about what you have to do in order to get a California permit. To me, it seems ridiculous that you have to list the guns that you're going to carry. Do you have to qualify in the guns you carry? Like, what's the process like? Because we hear all the horror stories about California, about assault weapon, so-called assault weapon restrictions, magazine capacities. You can have them. You can have 30 rounders. You can't have them. You can have them for 1 week. You have to, how do you prove if you during Freedom Week if you bought a 30-round mag, that you bought it then? Do you have to keep the receipt with the magazine, all this nonsense?
Yeah, the thing with the magazines right now, and this is tied up in court. We've challenged this in court. I think San Diego County gun owners, some of our people are actually plaintiffs in that lawsuit. Mm-hmm. And we had Judge Benitez down here that ruled that it was unconstitutional. It was goofy. You can't do that. And a 3-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit upheld Judge Benitez's ruling, saying that it was unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. And then the state applied to hear for an en banc hearing, so that meant the 11 judges had to hear it. So the 11 judges ruled against it or overturned it, but they stayed their ruling because I think they're waiting to see what the Supreme Court's going to do.
What's going to happen with
the New York case.
Yeah.
So they stayed their ruling. It was supposed to be through May. But I have not heard that that's changed yet. So I think, because I'd heard it was the 22nd of May. That's what it was at one point. But I have not heard they've said anything. So I think they're waiting on the Supreme Court for their opinion. But the way the law is now, in California, you can't buy a standard capacity magazine. So the stores aren't allowed to sell it. I can't buy one online. If I own them, they're fine to own. If I've got one, like I carry that with my GLOCK, I use a 15-round magazine, so it's fine for my concealed carry. We're allowed to own them, we're allowed to use them, you just can't buy them. I can't bring them into the state, I can't go to Arizona and buy them and bring them back.
Right.
So that's how the law is now, and I think they'll probably make a final decision pending this Supreme Court ruling. But getting a concealed carry permit out here.
Do you? Let me ask you this: as we work our way into it, do you have to have a permit to purchase or possess a firearm, not to carry one?
You have to go through you get a little safety card. It's not, I don't think like they have in New Jersey or New York. I mean, you have to go through a firearm safety certificate. You take a little, I want to say it's a 30-question quiz that any of the gun shops can give it. I think, any FFL can probably give it. So it's not hard. That's the only thing you need to do. You have to get this little safety card, and then you're good to go. Okay. With the concealed carry licenses that they have out here, there's 58 counties in California. So generally the county law enforcement issues, and it's usually the sheriff. In San Diego County, for instance, we have 18 cities in the county, so a chief of police could issue, but they all got together years ago, I heard in the late 90s or something, and they all decided we'll just let the sheriff issue. But technically a police chief can issue as well. And your license is good throughout the state. So like in San Diego, you just need to be a resident of San Diego, somewhere in the county. Okay. And you can get the license. What's interesting is for decades you could not get a license in San Diego County. They did not issue. They said they issued, but it was a very, very limited number of people that can get one. It was really hard to get. What changed was San Diego County Gun Owners and Michael Schwartz. They started San Diego County Gun Owners, I want to say November of 2015, because I think I joined it in April of 2016. But one of the first things Michael wanted to do was get our concealed carry rights back here. And this is the town of Ramona, by the way. Ramona. It's a cool little town. What we did was we applied a lot of political pressure to Sheriff Gore, who was a little while after that was running for re-election, and we got a lot of the Republican groups in the county to withhold their endorsement, until he changed his policy. We got a number of the politicians to write, locally in San Diego, to write him letters urging him to change the policy. Yeah. I think the last straw was we got the city council in Santee, which is the little town just over from Lakeside from us. We got the city council, and the mayor unanimously wrote him a letter asking him to change his policy. And about a week later, he called Michael and he said, "Okay, let's talk." And they changed it, and they now issue here. There's a number of things you have to do. The biggest thing is you have to write a good cause statement. You have to explain why you're in greater danger than the average citizen, which is goofy. I mean, you shouldn't have to do that. We're working on that. But yeah, state law says that you have to write. You have to show good cause. Some of the sheriffs in the 58 counties just say, okay, self-defense or personal defense is fine. In San Diego, they don't do that. They make you write something. The good news is the sheriff's licensing department is really good. They're really trying to work with this. Michael works with them. He talks to them probably every week or two. And we've gotten together. Okay, what exactly do you want to see on this good cause statement? How do people write it? We've come up with a worksheet. I do these seminars twice a month over here in Poway, explaining to people, okay, this is the process. This is how you do it if you want to get one. Prior to COVID, we were doing 7 or 8 of those a month around the county. Wow. We've picked back up now. I don't know if we're quite doing that many. I know I do 2 of them. Other people do them. So we may be close to that level. But really, just doing the good cause statement is the trick. And from the sheriff's licensing group, pretty much any good cause will do. There's a lot of different things you could say. Anything from, I go out hiking, I'm a photographer, and I've got a lot of expensive equipment with me. As easy as I walk my dogs at night by the canyon, and there's a lot of sketchy people there. I mean, they're willing to work with you. When you go in and talk to the clerks, because you have to go through an appointment. So you apply, and that was the big thing. They were really backed up for a long time. We convinced them to use this Permitium software, which a lot of the other counties were using.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. It's software that helps them process the applications. That helped a lot. But they just got really backed up. There was over a year delay from the time you applied until the time you would get it. And they've got that down now. They're really working hard at it. They've got it down to now to maybe 3 or 4 months, I think, is what I'm hearing. So anyway, you fill in the application, you write the good cause statement, you go in for an appointment, a clerk will work with you, and they're really good. They'll give you feedback on your good cause. They'll tell you maybe add this or don't say that or something like that. They just need to document it is what they really need.
I always tell people, I said, the things that you don't want to tell the police, because when I teach classes, people say, well, what do I put down about why I want to have a gun? I said, here's what you don't put down. Don't tell them you want to overthrow the government. Don't tell them you want to shoot zombies, and don't tell them you want to shoot clowns. Have a gun for all of those reasons, but don't tell the police.
Yeah, see, and that's exactly what happens out here, and it's exactly those reasons. But they say, okay, I tell people you don't want it for self-defense, which I know that's why you want it, but they don't want to see that on there.
Right.
You don't want to say that you're getting it to defend others. I know that's what you're doing, to defend yourself, your family,
right,
your loved ones, but they don't want to see that. All of a sudden
you're a vigilante. Right.
Yeah. So it's it's just goofy stuff like that. But like I said, if you want, as long as you can pass the background check, pretty much if you're good to own a gun in San Diego, you can get a concealed carry license. Gotcha. It's a 2-year license. You got to renew it every 2 years.
What's the cost?
Altogether, when you total up the class, because the state of California requires an 8-hour class. Okay. And actually, I think the county used to require that too. But so it requires an 8-hour class, and the class is probably depending on who you take it from, because there's a list of instructors, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get on that list, because that's another just odd thing. It's like the mafia. They open the books every 2 years. So every 2 years you can apply to become one of their approved instructors.
Oh my gosh.
And really, there's only, I looked on that list, and there's only like maybe 24 instructors on there. And I don't know everybody, but I look at it and I know, wow, there's several of those guys. I know they don't teach regularly. Right. So, there's a big demand there. But they just opened it up, actually, so this summer people can apply again. So you take your 8-hour class. There's a pretty simple shooting thing that you have to go through. Any gun that you want to put on the license, any gun that you want to carry has to be on your license. It used to be limited to 3 guns, and we were able to get them to change that, because some of the other counties had unlimited, some were limited to 6. And I asked Michael, I said, can you talk to the sheriff about this? So Michael said, yeah, we'll do that. So he talked to the previous undersheriff who ran the program. Yeah. And he said, hey, can we bump that up to maybe 6 handguns on the license? Yeah. Just so we can do that. And the undersheriff said, well, heck, we'll just make it unlimited. So you can have an unlimited number of them on there now. You just have to qualify with each one.
Gotcha. What's the qualification like?
It's actually easy. You shoot 15 rounds. Yep. And at 3 yards, you shoot half a magazine with your right hand, half a magazine with your left hand. Okay. So 5 rounds, half right, half left. Right. Then you back up to 5 yards. You shoot 5 rounds with both hands. Then you back up to 7 yards. You shoot 5 rounds with both hands. So it's 15 rounds. You've got to get 11 of the 15 rounds into the silhouette size target. Different instructors use slightly different targets. Sure. But I mean, realistically, if you're a gun owner, you should be able to do that walking in off the street.
It shouldn't be that difficult.
And
all right.
Most people are okay, but you do get some people, and that as an instructor, this kind of concerns me a bit. You do get some people that struggle with that. Occasionally you have to fail somebody because they can't do that. And it's, and what's interesting is out here, because, being an instructor and being real oriented in the teaching and all that stuff, I always urge people, when I do these seminars, just to explain the process, I urge people, I tell them, do it right. Adopt what I call the concealed carry lifestyle, basically. Yep. If you're going to do this, do it. Carry every day, every place, every time you're allowed to carry, and get into it and learn. Take classes, read books, do it right, because
Yeah.
the gun's the easy part, really. It's all the other stuff you should know to avoid ever being in a situation where you have to have the gun or use
Absolutely.
the gun. And it concerns me that I know if I'm teaching a class, we generally I teach with Bill DC with his company, CCW USA. You'll see Bill and his family tonight at the dinner.
Nice.
And I was fortunate enough, Bill, when Michael and I were driving up to Vacaville to go to the CCW Coordinators Conference. So I found out about that from I was reading Concealed Carry magazine. They did a big story on the Coordinators Conference, and I found out about it. And I called one of the deputies that was listed as one of the guys organizing it.
Yeah.
And I actually got him on the phone. I thought, well, let me see if I could just contact them. And I got us invited. And what it is, they invite people from all of the 58 counties, all the sheriff's organizations, CHP, all the different law enforcement organizations, to a conference every year, and they're trying to standardize what they do, because all the counties do it differently. Everybody's got a different system, a different way they do this. So I got us invited to the coordinator conference. So Michael and I drove up there, and it's about a 7-hour drive from here to there.
Damn.
So we're driving and talking, and I was telling him, yeah, I'd like to get into the teaching and stuff, and he was saying, Bill DC needs some help. So I said, wow, I'd like to help Bill, because I knew Bill from the gun owners. So Michael texted Bill. Bill said, yeah, absolutely, great. So that's what started it. And Bill was able to get me onto the sheriff's list under his company.
Cool.
So that's actually how I got into teaching with Bill. But again, with the CCW stuff, when I do these seminars and things, I always urge people to learn and really take this seriously. And where I was going with that was, with Bill, we do about 3 classes, the qualification classes each month, and we'll have about 18 people in each class. And I know there are people in there that nobody's going to see again until 2 years from now when they have to go through the class again and
Right.
qualify.
They're not going to be at a range. They're not going to be at a competition.
Yeah, and I worry about that. When we were on the radio one day, we were talking about constitutional carry, because we've got 25 states that do that. And we happen to have Ursula Williams, who I think will also be at the...
She'll be at the dinner. I'm actually going to film a show with her tomorrow.
Okay, so Ursula will be there, and then Chris Chang was also on the show.
Oh, yeah.
The Top Gun, is that what it is?
He was on Top Gun, yeah.
Shooter. And I happened to mention, then they were in the studio with us, like you guys are going to be tomorrow. And I happened to mention, I just have a minor, I support the constitutional carry. My reservation is if there's nothing required from the state, you're kind of throwing those people out there, and they don't have any training. And like in California, Michael Schwartz calls these bear traps. There's so many ways that you can inadvertently become a felon that are related to firearms. I mean, it's like you almost, you almost want to have, some way to at least some basic minimal training to at least tell people what they can do, what they can't do. And I said, that was my only reservation. And they both jumped on me and they said, no, they said, it's not the state's responsibility. You're an adult. You're undertaking this. You're making the decision to carry a firearm. It's up to you to learn what you need to learn. And discussing it with them, I started thinking, and I was thinking, I guess I really do feel that way. I just didn't know I felt that way.
Right.
So they straightened me out on that. But
I'm with you. Like I tell people that my concern with national reciprocity is that people aren't going to do their due diligence if they're going to go someplace else. And living in an occupied territory in Massachusetts, where we have to have magazine restrictions, I said I can see somebody from Free America coming to Massachusetts for vacationing, end up getting pulled over, telling the police officer asks them, do you have a gun on you? And they say, yes, I have a gun on me. What do you have? I've got a Gen 5 GLOCK with a 15-round magazine. Bam! And then all of a sudden they're a felon because they have a 15-round magazine.
Yeah.
And I don't see Free America giving in, but I don't see the the occupied territory states giving up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's
there's got to be some sort of a way to equal that out. And I tell people all the time, I say, listen, the website that I go to when I'm going to travel and I'm going to bring a firearm with me, and I didn't because I'm in California, is I always go to handgunlaw.us, and I know USCCA has one. I know USA Carry has one. I know US Law Shield has one. I like I like handgunlaw.us. It's got everything that I need to know there. And I don't think people are going to do their due diligence when they go to other states. But I don't want to. It is, it's like Spider-Man. With great responsibility, or with great power comes great responsibility. And I don't think people do their due diligence, but I don't think they should be denied because they don't do their homework. But like you said, they need to adopt the lifestyle.
That's exactly where you get, and you can't make people be responsible. I mean, even out here, they require an 8-hour class. 8 hours is not anywhere near long enough to talk about everything they need to know.
How many times?
And I know there's other people that just aren't going to do anything else.
How many times do you have people that say 8 hours? Any chance we can get it done by 6?
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of people in Massachusetts. I hate saying this because I always think the Attorney General's going to watch my show. I know she's not. But it's 4 hours non-live firing, and you're good to go. 4 hours non-live firing. NRA's home firearm safety cuts the mustard to get your Mass LTC. And I always tell people it's just the beginning. You need to learn a lot more. You need to learn how to shoot. You need to learn when you can shoot, when you can't shoot. Like you said, you got to adopt that lifestyle, because it's not just learning how to shoot. It's not all that stuff. It's everything. It's all of that. Like you have to know when you can, when you can't, where you can, where you can't. How do you deal with the police? What do you do when you go into a place and they say you can't carry in here? Or if there's a metal detector, like, you need to know how to handle these things. And the thing is, I know that I cover this stuff in class. A lot of this stuff I cover in class, but I still have people that'll message me 3 months later and say, hey, listen, I forgot this. Can I do this? Hey, can I do this? Hey, can I carry a gun here? Hey, how do I transport a gun? How do I carry a gun if I'm going to go here? And you're like, I know we did this, but that's okay,
Yeah, and that's, all you can do what you can do. I feel good with me. I've done everything I can do to help them.
Yeah.
If they don't want to take this take this seriously, and they get in trouble, that's right. I can't feel bad about that. I mean, I even give them. I created a whole resource page because I read a lot, which is probably why I write a lot. But I've read dozens and dozens of books on different aspects of this, and I distilled it down to like 12 books that I stick on a sheet of paper. I said, take a look at these 12. Things. A couple of them from Asad Ayub about deadly force. Yeah. Tom Gibbons, Concealed Carry Class. It's like a soup to nuts book. Everything you need on that. Left to Bang is another one, because I teach the situational awareness part of the class, and I tell them about criminals being predators, and criminals do certain things. They look for certain kinds of people, and then they plan their attack. And I always tell people they can't. If a criminal spots you from across the parking lot, he can't really hurt you from where he's at. He's got to get close to you to do his thing. Yeah. And by doing that, they do things that are obvious if you're looking for it, if you're paying attention. And so I try to get them to read that stuff. I go through a whole thing on that resource sheet, because there's not enough time to do this in class. And I'm actually developing another maybe 4-hour class on, okay, now you've got your CCW, now what? Right. All the stuff that you need to know about gun belts, about holsters, about situational awareness. Do you carry with a round in the chamber? That's a big deal. Right. Because everybody's sketchy and nervous about that. And the question is absolutely yes. You just have to get to the point where you're comfortable. You can do that. Exactly.
I always tell people, I say, look, when I started to carry, I only carried to church and on weekends, because I couldn't carry during the week. And I would carry, for the first month or so, I carried an unloaded gun. Yes, I know it's wrong. Yes, I know I shouldn't do it. I get it that people are going to get killed. I think that we're all on the same path to wanting to carry concealed. And you and I are further down than somebody that's just starting off. So if you're brand new, then you know what? Carry an unloaded gun in your house. Get used to having a gun on your body. Get used to learning how to draw it, learning how to present the firearm and draw the firearm. And then get to the point where you say, okay, I carried a gun out with me, and I carried ammunition in my pocket. I carried a speed loader for my 5-shot J-frame. And that was what I did for a month or so. And then I said, okay, nothing bad happened. I'm going to carry the gun loaded. And it's been that way since then.
Yeah, and I think, and I'd read this somewhere, I think Michael actually did this, where the first couple of weeks, he carried, the magazine was in, it was loaded, but there was no round in the chamber.
Without a round in the chamber, yeah.
What people say, especially if you have a striker fire gun, carry it that way, and then verify when you come home. Yep, it's still in the same condition it was when I left. Nothing happened. Yeah. But I mean, it's a psychological thing because when I'm teaching, I carry. When I'm teaching the project management stuff, I can't do it if I'm teaching at UCSD at the university.
Sure.
But the other classes I generally teach in a hotel if I'm doing live classes, so I carry. And I've got the gun on. I'll usually carry outside the waistband in those because I've got like a sport coat on. I found I can dress in jeans and a t-shirt. If I throw a sport coat on, I'm dressed. I'm professional. So I'll generally teach that way. And the first couple of months probably that I was carrying, I always, in the back of my mind when I'm teaching, there's this fear that it's going to go off, it's going to go bang in the middle of the room. And I know that's not rational, it's not possible, but that's still back there. It just takes a while to get through that. So doing that kind of stuff, I tell people when I do these seminars, if you're thinking you're going to carry and you're getting this thing to carry it like twice a year when you go see your brother-in-law because he lives in a sketchy neighborhood, or something like that, I tell them maybe you want to do something else. Maybe this isn't for you.
Right. Pepper spray's a good option.
Yeah, because I had another friend that carried, and he worked for one of the defense contractors here, so he couldn't carry at work every day. His idea was he was going to have it in the car. Okay. And I guess that's okay, but I mean, he didn't carry when he wasn't at work either. It was maybe in the car. And he came back actually and did his requal with Bill, and it was before I started teaching with Bill. But this friend was telling me that he could barely, Bill had to really work with him to get him to pass the ball because he never shot, never went anywhere. And it's like, there's people like that out there, carrying, and it's just, it's not good. But I mean, you can only do what you can do.
Yeah,
I can encourage people to really do it the right way.
I've talked to so many people that so many women that are like, well, I want to have a gun, but if I don't go to the range very often, I don't really know much about it. I got my license. I went shooting with my husband once. Somebody breaks in my house. You're darn right I'm going to shoot the bad guy. Really? How's that going to go?
Yeah, and it's out here because we get those questions. I talk about that in class, and something I picked up from Masad Ayub, because I went through his Mag 20 class, and something I stole from him that I use in all my classes. When people, can you do this? Can you do that? I say, what you got to remember is CYA. That's what you want to go with. I say, everybody knows what CYA is, right? Oh, yeah, sure, we know CYA. And it's, can you articulate? That's what CYA is. Can you explain why what you did was reasonable for the situation you were in, knowing what you knew at that time? And that's how you have to go by everything. Because I tell people nothing is black and white. And this, when can I shoot? When can I not shoot? So everything is gray, and it depends on the situation. So you have to understand that.
So many people will say, "Well, can I shoot a guy here?" Maybe. Like, I'm not going to tell you no, but you're going to have to justify it. My first gun was, I inherited a couple shotguns and a couple handguns, and I just wanted a carry gun. And I had a Browning Challenger from the 60s. It was made in Belgium. It was my father's gun that my dad gave my mother. And I'm like, I'm going to cut the barrel down because I want something small and concealable. I'm so glad I didn't do that. But I ended up getting a big Model 19 Smith & Wesson 357 with a 6-inch barrel. It looked very dirty, hairy. So I'd go upstairs and practice spinning that one. I didn't even know it was the wrong kind of gun to do.
Yeah, I've got a Ruger GP100, the match champion, which just started goofing up on me. It's binding up for some reason now.
Oh, that's not good.
So now I got a gunsmith friend that I got to bring it to this week. But
I was going to say I have a single action 22 that I found at a gun show for $100, and I wanted to have one because I was teaching classes and they're good to have.
Is that one of the Rugers?
No, mine is it's a no brand. It's like Firearms International out of Miami or something. It's a replica of a, I don't even know, Cold Frontier or something, Cold Stallion. I don't even know. It's silver, It's not shiny silver. It's silver, and it's got a black cylinder, and it's got plastic grips. And I bought it for $100 because I'm like, $100, you can't go wrong, right? And then I go shoot it, and it's like inconsistent. So a couple years ago, I finally took it to a gunsmith, and I'm like, all right, this doesn't, like, I figured it's going to cost more money to fix it than it is to get it to buy a new one. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'm just going to go see what this guy says. The guy took a look at it. He called me up a few days later. He's like, $15. All you need is a new hammer. I'm like, that's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I wrote about the one gun. I wrote an article, Cowboy Guns Are Fun, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Months ago.
And the one I talked about in there that I could not get was the John Wayne gun, the Rooster Shooter. And, you know, I wanted that Rooster Shooter, you know, for like a while, and I kept putting it off. I'll get it. And then COVID hit, and they disappeared. You couldn't get them anywhere. I didn't see them for years. So then when this other one came up, this Pistolero, I thought, wow, that's a nice gun. I'll get that one instead, because I just wanted a single action. So I got that one, and then like 2 months later, I see the Rooster Shooter is back. So I saw it on, I think, Bud's Guns, I think is where I got it. And I said, okay, great, I'll get it now. So I said, I really don't need two, but I got to buy it. It's there. So
right.
So I got that one now. So I'm gonna do another story now. I finally got my Rooster Shooter.
That's cool. All right, let's get back into it, and I can edit this stuff up. So we were talking about the CYA from Masada. Can you articulate?
So you know, I try to tell people that because you get that question all the time. When can I do this? When can I do that?
Right.
And the CYA, the can you articulate thing is how I explain it to them. Because you know, it's not, like I said, it's not cut and dry. You know, and that's the same kind of stuff Ayub talks about. We interviewed Tom Givens, right? I interviewed Tom Givens on the radio one time, and he talks about the same kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. What's interesting with Givens, he's actually got information on, I think it's up to 70 of his students, because he's been teaching for 30 or 40 years, have been involved in self-defense incidents. And I think, if I remember right, I think he said only one of them had it not come out well, and that was the one who wasn't carrying when he was attacked.
Wow.
But yeah, he talks about that, and where I was going to go with that in California, because we were talking about, you know, somebody comes into your house, what do you do? And in California, we don't have a duty to retreat, so there's no law that says we have to do that. And by statute, the court assumes that if someone forcibly enters your house, that they're there to do you great bodily injury or death, or, you know, cause that.
Right.
So, you know, you can defend yourself technically in the house like that. But again, you're going to have to, that's why I say the CYA, the can you articulate, because you hear these goofballs, oh, if they're in the house, you know, you just shoot them. Well, if they're in the house and you hear somebody in the house and you go downstairs and there's a guy grabbing your TV, trying to get it out the door, you know, if you shoot this guy, you shot him over property, basically, right? He's taking your TV. You cannot use deadly force to defend property, at least out here. I think you can in some places. You can't out here. So, you know, yes, you assume, you know, the court assumes that, okay, if they forcibly entered your house, they're there to do you harm. But, you know, that's not, the prosecutor may or may not take that opinion. And
absolutely.
Especially if you're in a place like this where it's, you know, unfriendly to gun owners and guns in general. So, you know, again, can you articulate why? Because, like, the example I'll use a lot when I'm teaching is, you know, say you're in your house at night, you hear something out in the driveway, you look out and there's somebody in your truck, you know, trying to get the thing started. And you decide to go out there and yell, hey, you know, get out of there, stop that. And the guy turns around and says, F you, and he keeps working. You really can't do much to him. You know, you cannot use force to defend property. If he gets out of the car, say, and now he comes at you and he's got the screwdriver in his hand. Story. Okay, now you could, you know, possibly argue that, okay, I was defending myself, he was attacking me. But what, again, if you're in this kind of area with the kinds of prosecutors and things we have out here, they're likely to say, well, you didn't have to go outside in the first place. You contributed to this.
Sure.
You could have looked out the window, called 911, who is not going to show up now, but but you could have done that. Yeah. So, you know, by going outside, you contributed to that stuff. Because, you know, what we'll tell students is, you know, if you're going to use a self-defense argument, you can see a little bit of salmon scent like reservoir.
Oh, wow.
See how low everything is nowadays. What was I just going to say?
You have to articulate why they took why you shot them over property.
Yeah, which again, you weren't, you were defending yourself. Oh, I know what I was going to say. As if you're using a self-defense argument, that kind of argument, you can never be the aggressor. You have to maintain your innocence. And if you listen to Ayub or one of those guys, they'll tell you that innocence is immediately. It's what's happening right now when you do something, because that can shift back and forth.
Yeah.
Who's the aggressor, who's not the aggressor. There it goes. You can see a little bit better there.
Oh, nice.
You always have to be paying attention. And that's what I worried about, again, the training. This is not stuff, I mentioned this in this 8-hour class, people retain what? About 25% or something they hear. So that's why I always encourage people to, to train, to read. There's a million books out there. There's a lot of good content on YouTube. I don't know, have you met John Correa?
I've met him. I haven't had him on the show before.
John, I always promote John's stuff. John, that's some of the best education information out there. It's completely free. He does a great job with it. It's not, because there's a lot of goofy stuff on YouTube, so you got to watch out for that. They do the
take it on the wrong way.
You've seen Master Ken.
Seen Master Ken, and everyone obviously needs to know Master Ken is a goof.
And and there's people out there that actually do that. And they're serious.
Like this came up. This came up with someone I interviewed recently. We talked about Voda, and then the new Voda, which is Dale Brown and the Dust guy.
Oh, I don't know what that Voda.
Detroit. So Voda was this guy he's like, I don't care what people say. This is what I'm going to do. And he was training people to do some stuff that we all thought was a little nuts and a little crazy and a little on the edge of probably being safe. But then Dust came out. He's the Detroit Urban Survival Training. Okay. You know this guy, right?
No, I don't think I've seen him.
He's this guy from Detroit that will have people point a gun at him, and he shows them how to disarm stuff real quick. And you've got to check out some of his stuff. It's kind of interesting. And the person I was talking with, we said, hey, either he knows, he knows it's all crap, or it's going to get someone killed, or it's stuff that he really works and really believes in, and he maybe needs to learn a little bit more. So you've had to see this guy. It's a black guy with a little mustache. He's got an earpiece in all the time.
Well, it's interesting too. Even if he is serious and he's legitimate, or he feels like he's legitimate, there's certain, it depends on your level of skill. Like I was telling you, I shoot USPSA matches, and we'll go through at the beginning of a stage, and we'll do a walkthrough and check things out. And at my level, just as a C-level shooter, there's a way I'll shoot the stage. One of the masters that's walking through it may shoot it differently because they have a different skill level. They can do different things that I can't do. If there's activators that are going to flip up and flip down, okay, because they're quick enough, they may be able to shoot this, and then do it that way. Whereas I have to adjust it because I don't have that level of skill, so I have to do it a little bit differently. Yeah. With disarms and that kind of stuff, unless you really seriously train at that, and you're really good at it. It's a sketchy thing. You'll see some of these guys on YouTube that are doing the knife things, and some of those things are hilarious. It's unless you're Steven Seagal or something, you're really and the other guy's another actor,
right? Chuck Norris.
You're going to get sliced to shreds doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's some guys, some legitimate self-defense people that I've heard they'll say, they're self-defense. There's one guy that Bill quotes all the time, who's a real, I think he's a former SEAL, and he does all that stuff. And he says, his self-defense, he knows he can run a mile pretty much flat out without having to slow down or stop. He said that's his knife fight defense. He said if this guy could chase him for a mile running full out at a sprint, then okay, we'll talk about it at the end of the mile.
This guy might, if he can sprint a mile and a quarter, then we got a problem.
Because
the thing I always tell people, the thing with the knife fighting is that the winner of the knife fight goes to the hospital.
Yeah.
The loser goes to the morgue.
Well, you'll see, it's funny because out here in East County, most people carry a knife. Most men will be carrying a knife. I carry a little knife because I've got a knife that's, a cool defense knife. But I don't really carry it, one, because it's a little bit bigger, so it's less comfortable than this little one.
Yeah.
I carry the little one mostly to open boxes.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, if I'm in a situation where I need to use a knife to defend myself, a knife is deadly force. I'll use the gun. That's why I have the gun. You know, I'm not, because there's another, if you ever seen a book called, I think it's Violence of the Mind, I think is what it's called.
Does not ring a bell.
Varg, gosh, I can't remember his last name. Right, it's really interesting. But he's a guy that had gotten in trouble, you know, early on. He had a kind of a rough, you know, younger life. And he had a guy that was after him for some, I don't know if it was a girlfriend's former boyfriend or something like that.
Yeah.
And the guy was, you know, looking for him all throughout the neighborhood, and he was able to avoid him for a while. And then finally he got, the guy caught up with him at some party. And he tried to get out the back of the house, but he had his buddies were out there, so he couldn't go that way. And the guy came in and confronted him and had a knife, and this Varg had a knife, and it turned into a knife fight. And he defended himself against the guy. You want to take it right here? And ended up stabbing the guy like 28 times. The guy lived, and he was charged with, I think it was a manslaughter thing. You know, with this, and he used a self-defense argument, and the guy that attacked him actually was at his trial and testified, no, I was there, I was intending to kill him, that's why I was there.
Wow.
And he still ended up in prison for that for a while, and he's since, you know, he got out of prison, and he turned his life around, he became a self-defense guy, he's written several books and things like that. But, you know, he's talking, if you're using a knife, the self-defense argument's really tough. Because, you know, he says, think about, we train like with guns, you know, you're trained to shoot until the threat goes away, right? That may be 15 rounds. You know, you're shooting until the guy goes away or stops. With a knife, turn right here. With a knife, that could be 15 or 20 stabs to get the guy to stop. You know, so you're going to have to explain that. You know, then the other thing I always tell students too, it's like, you know, this jury of your peers thing is a myth. You know, if you're involved in a shooting, there's not going to be a single gun owner on that jury. There certainly isn't going to be a concealed carrier on that jury.
No, the prosecutor is going to make sure of that.
Yeah, the people on that jury learned everything they know about guns from TV and movies. I mean, that's what you're dealing with. So, you know, it's the same kind of thing with, you know, in a knife situation. That's why I carry a little knife to open boxes, but I don't carry a defense knife.
I did a knife fighting course, and the solution... I did the knife fighting course with Michael Betancourt, and he's someone that I had on the show. And his defense is you take a knife, he calls it the lift and separate. You take the knife, you put it, here's how you hold it, you jam this between someone's legs, and you lift and separate their testicles. And he said whether you go from anus to scrotum or scrotum to anus, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's,
so then he's like, so if you have to win the knife fight, he says, you know, do this. He says, make a fist and take your hand, and can you put your hand to your fist? He says, of course you can. Do you have to look at it? No, you can do this. And he says, good, take the back of someone's head and then bring their head to your fist. And then he says, how much of the tip of this knife do I have to put in your eye before you stop doing bad things to me?
Yeah.
So he's like, the size of the knife doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah, the only thing that I saw might be a reasonable reason, you know, defensive wise, to have a knife is with dogs, and that's one of the reasons I carry pepper spray too, because you know, most problems are not a gun problem. Even a vicious dog, you know, do you really? Because people say, well, what about a dog? I said, okay, well, can you hit a target that's this big, moving around, snapping and snarling? How much training do you do to do that? First off, if you're in your neighborhood, you know, or a neighborhood with houses and stuff around, do you want to be shooting?
Do you want to be shooting? Yeah.
And there's a couple of videos on John Corria's active self-protection thing about that, and one of them is there's a family coming out. I think they're coming out of church in the parking lot.
No, we're gonna finish up here.
So. There's a family coming out of church. They're walking through the parking lot. It's a man, a woman, and 2 kids. And you could see, it was on a security camera, and you could see the dog coming up through the parking lot, comes running right over, grabs the little girl by the arm, and is yanking on the little girl. The dad's got her by the other arm, and he's punching at the dog, kicking at the dog. The dog's not doing anything. Finally, he pulls a knife out, stabs the dog a time or two, and the dog takes off.
Wow.
So I was thinking, okay, that's probably a legitimate reason to carry a knife, maybe. Because again, the gun's not always going to work. The pepper spray should work on the dog. But, you know, not everything is a gun thing, so you should have other stuff.
This is true. All right, listen, we are almost where we need to be. How can people find you? Where can they find you? We didn't even talk about Gun Owners Radio.
No, I missed that one. Get a grip. I have to do this again.
Yes.
So San Diego County Gun Owners, if you go to SDCGO.org, if you go to our website, SDCGO.org, look at the blog page. I write an article every week on there pretty much. So I post my articles there. There's probably 170 something of them on there now. I also have a column on Substack. It's Get a Grip, all one word, so getagrip.substack.com.
Excellent.
I try to do an article there every week or two. Gun Owners Radio, you can listen to us if you're in San Diego, 1170 AM. You can hear us live. The Answer, that's right, in San Diego from, 4 to 6 every Sunday. We also live stream that on Facebook, so you can see that, the same thing, Gun Owners Radio. Yeah. And then we video and we record everything, and then we post those on our YouTube channel, Gun Owners Radio, so you can see me in any of those places.
Very cool. Do you have, so with all the writing, do you have a book?
Funny you should ask. I don't have a gun book.
Okay.
I did write a book on project management. I have 101 tips for the enlightened project manager.
Very cool.
New concept for that, but no gun books yet.
No gun books yet. Somebody said you should write a gun book. I'm like, it'd be more like a pamphlet.
You know what I was thinking about doing? Because I was saying, like, I've got 175 or so of these articles. What I was thinking about doing is kind of compiling those together, maybe putting something together like, the Second Amendment advocacy from the tip of the spear. Like, okay, this is what we do out here in San Diego. Part of what we do is the writing, because the big thing, the reason I got into the writing is to get information out to people. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't, especially when it comes to guns and gun laws and gun policy and gun anything, there's a lot of misinformation out there. It's intentional misinformation. There's a lot of things people just don't understand. So one of the things I feel like is important is to get as much information out there to people as I can. Even gun owners, I'll hear gun owners say things that are just goofy. Where'd you hear that? And so I figure the more I can write, and I try to include a couple of links in each of my articles, just so people, okay, don't take my word for it. Here, this is some more information. Here, this is, I'm throwing this out here for you to think about. Here, explore it, check it out, and come to your own conclusions. So, I thought about doing a book, and I may still do that. Putting a bunch of those together. Oh, good. Maybe we'll talk about that. We'll have to talk about it tonight. Absolutely. All right. Very cool. Listen, Joe, thank you so much for being on the show. You're welcome, Troy. Thanks for the invite. Thank you. Thanks to you guys for watching the show. If you are not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, you need to go to saf.org and become a member. It's only $150 for a lifetime membership. If you'd like to donate to the CCRBKA, that's the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, that's another place you can donate money, and that goes to the, I hate saying the SAF people, but they're two different branches with two different places. CCRBKA. Check them out. You should check out other shows on the Self-Defense Radio Network. It is all of your pro-freedom podcasts in one place. It is sdrn.us. And I thank you guys for watching the show and writing Shotgun with Charlie, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.